A very good evening to everyone on YouTube. Sorry I've not been posting any political content more regularly. It's just been a little while since I've had anything to think about. And before we get started, I'd like to give a bit of a shout out to my dear friend, the Englander, who will hopefully, because he's one of my most loyal viewers, leave a comment. He's also one of my favorite content creators, so again, you know, I am using my platform to give him a bit of a shout out. Anyway, just something I've recently been thinking about. Well, something I've been thinking about for a long time is positive vision versus negative vision. And you know, stuff like that. And why certain aspects, certain people, certain ideas on my own side of politics annoy me. And well, I don't necessarily want to say that I've come to a completely satisfying conclusion, but I have made progress on that front, which is I was watching a video by Nolan Knows recently, another very good YouTuber that you ought to check out, and he was doing he had a guest on. Some priest fellow from I forget where, probably, well, one of the Catholic apologetics crowd. And this very wise guest said that, sorry, just got something in my throat there. This very wise guest said that, atheism is a fundamentally negative vision. You know, I'm paraphrasing a bit, but he said something along the lines of atheism does not say that anything is. Atheism merely says that God is not. Therefore, the fundamental consequence of atheism is always violence. You know, which is borne out pretty well by history, I think. You know, because atheism is basically a negative vision, whereas Christianity is a positive vision. Christianity says many things. You know, Christianity says, you know, that God is, and that Christ is, and that the apostles are, you know, and it speaks a lot about some very fundamental truths about reality. And also, you know, here's another example of why negative philosophy is harmful. You know, it's like when people criticize Christianity, they never say that, oh, these things are bad. Rather, they have to twist Christianity. And they have to say that they have to twist Christianity, and then they say, you know, like one of the most common avenues is they'll say, it's like, oh, Christianity says that sodomy or whatever, you know, says that homosexuality is wrong, which is a negative worldview, and therefore Christianity is bad. You know, that's a sort of simple, very simplified version of what a lot of lefty people say when they criticize Christianity, as well as some of the more flamboyant neo-pagan and atheistic elements of the right as well. You know, but that's not really true. It's not completely true, you know, it's only half the picture, as is often the case whenever anyone makes a negative caricature of anything. Christianity does not merely say that homosexuality is wrong, because it is not, and it, well, more than it says that heterosexuality is correct, but even sort of stricter than that, it says that, you know, marriage between one man and one woman, you know, with a rare exception, is the right way of doing things, you know, and all sorts of stuff like that, you know. And my own faith in particular says that that is the case because, well, never mind, but basically it just, you know, creates a sort of cosmic model that, you know, the nearest that anybody can get to God is to, you know, be in a traditional heterosexual marriage and produce children. You know? It's a positive vision. Perhaps not exclusively, but it is a positive vision in addition to negative belief, you know. There is no vacuum within Christian thought. Well, at least not much of one. You know, whereas in atheism, you know, they say it's like, ooh, there is no God. And then what, you know? How are you going to make a moral code without making some fundamental assumptions about humanity and reality? That's not the whole topic of this video. Sorry if I've gotten a bit off track, but I meant to be talking about sort of positive visions and negative visions as a whole. So I suppose what I mean to say is that, you know, right-wing politics must not merely be a negative vision. And when possible, we should avoid the negative vision altogether, because positive visions are, well, simply better in my opinion. But even when negative visions are necessary, they sort of mean nothing in and of themselves, you know. You can't have a good, effective negative vision without a positive vision to sort of frame it, you know. Because there's all sorts of weird degeneracy that, you know, there's all sorts of, like, we'll just continue with a bit of a metaphor, you know, like there's a lot of degeneracy that is, you know, not just homosexuality, you know, and so on and so forth. You know, so it's not just that we need to say, oh, this one thing is bad, and it's not even as easy as saying that, ooh, all these dozens of things are bad. Like, we've got to sort of say that at the same time, ooh, this one thing is bad, and ooh, this other one thing, this other one thing is good. You know, if that makes sense. You know, plus I would just like to make my normal point about purging all of the atheists and neo-pagans and such from our sphere of politics. Not merely because I find them to be unpleasant people in general, but simply because, you know, in a sort of fundamental way, they have a wrong view of reality, you know. God is real, and he is male, and he is the father of all humanity, and humanity was made in his image, etc. You know. And Christ, well, there's an awful lot of debate about Christ. Perhaps Christ is a sort of aspect and avatar of that God. Perhaps Christ is a separate but cooperative God alongside God the Father. Or perhaps, you know, in the worldview of, like, you know, some people, Christ is merely the chief of all prophets. But sort of regardless, you know, Christ is exalted above all men, and etc. Goodbye.